Hey everybody, it's Angela and I am back with another process video, and this one is going to be using some SaCrafters products. And I am scrapbooking these two photos of my granddaughter at the beach, and I not too long ago got the Dear Lizzie Polka Dot Party paper pad from Tuesday Morning, and I love this paper. I had never had this the first time it came out. I might have gotten a sheet or two because I think, subscribe to a kit back then, but I never had the full collection, and I just love all the papers in this. So I pull out way too many, and I don't wind up using all of them, but yeah, just a gorgeous collection. And I don't have any more of it, just this paper stack, so I'm going to use some dies to cut out some extra embellishments to go with this and my SaCrafters products. So it just goes to show you don't need a lot if you have a few dimensional items and some of these paper cutouts. You can totally make a whole layout without having to buy a full collection of a new paper line. So as you can see here, I just took the wood grain paper I wanted to use as my background. It kind of reminded me of those weathered fences that you see at the beach or docks or things like that. So I just love that kind of weather-worn look. And then I'm using the navy blue paper out of the collection to map my photos. And the photos are mostly, blues and beiges. So this works really well to kind of make those pop out. There's a slight white border around my photo when I printed them, and then the blue just kind of contrasts really well with that. And then here's that beautiful floral paper that's just begging to be fussy cut. And so I pull that sheet out and just fussy cut 3 different clusters. And then here are my SaCrafters products. I've got these little chipboard frames, and there's 3 in a pack, and they're each a little bit different. And I've sprayed them with some metallic silver spray paint, and I'm just going to use one of them on this layout. So that leaves me 2 more for future layouts. And I'm using also a seagull and a lighthouse that I've also spray painted with metallic silver paint. And I just love the dimension that adds. The bird and the lighthouse are MDF wood, and the kind of scrolly frame that I cut there was out of chipboard. So I've got 2 different textures going on here. And I'm really liking how this is coming together. It's sort of turning into a central cluster, and with that kind of yellow and notebook paper that I put behind my matted photos. And here I'm cutting up some of the other cut aparts in this collection, and I'm going to use them for the paper to die cut some more embellishments. And I have this Echo Park die cut of a crab, and in the bottom left hand photo my granddaughter is actually playing with some bits of a crab shell on the beach. I think she's trying to reassemble the crab there in the sand. So I wanted to use that little die of the crab. And then I also have some flower dies from hot off the press that I use pretty much all the time. And I'm just going to use those cut apart cards to cut out a bunch of little shapes to kind of go in with these other items I already have on the page. So I'm liking this and decide I better start, just gluing it down. And I hesitate quite a few times on this because I'm actually watching, I have a little DVD player from, I don't know, like about 10 years ago in my craft room. And we don't have any TV or cable or Netflix or anything. So I purchased the first season of Game of Thrones because I always hear people talking about it. And so I decided to go ahead and invest in that. And I'm watching that, and I don't know, it's been a long time since I've watched TV, and this is pretty risque. I don't know if they, the censorship on TV is that different, or maybe this was a made-for-cable production and they don't have the censorship or whatever, but I was like, oh my, on some of these. But I'm only like the first 2 episodes into it, so I'm a little confused at this point, but I've heard so many good reviews of this whole saga that I totally wanted to go ahead and watch it. So I'm liking it so far. but it's pretty dark, and it's pretty confusing with all the different people in there. So it's going to take me a bit to figure out kind of what's going on and what the plot line of this whole thing is. But okay, back to the layout. I'm decided to put that photo up on some foam tape or some fun foam. So I'm just cutting some pieces to go behind that, and that way that silver frame will tuck under there a little bit easier. And it just gives a little extra dimension. And I'm going to have about 3 little clusters kind of where those big white fussy cut flowers are. That's going to be my 3 main clusters. And then I wanted that little crab kind of down by the crab in the photo. And then I wanted 3 other pieces of that dark blue, scattered in each cluster, and some of that teal in each cluster, and some of the yellow. So I'm just kind of spreading my colors out, seeing what I like. I like the lighthouse being to the right hand side of that upper photo. I'm just kind of tucking some of it underneath and some of it over. And I have these 2 flourishes that I die cut out, but I wind up not using them. I used a striped paper to cut them out, and it was just a little bit too busy for everything. So for the chipboard, I'm going to use my Scotch tacky glue to just hold that down. And I think I used my ATG gun on all the paper items, or most of the paper items. Again, just some Scotch tacky glue on the back of that. And then I have to fiddle with the foam just a little bit to make sure it goes around those frames that I stuck underneath. I just love the little, touches of metallic silver. Goes really well with the blues in the paper line. So I go ahead, and the crab is just going to be kind of peeking out from underneath the flower. So it's not going to be a real dominant feature on the layout, but I just kind of wanted that as kind of a supporting item to go with my other kind of beachy elements. Again, I just wanted to pull a little bit of that dark blue into each cluster. So I've got the crab at the bottom, then a small flower on the right, and a larger flower on the top. And again, I'm just tucking some of it underneath the photo and some of it above. And then totally being distracted by watching a movie. So that little seagull, I'm not sure exactly where to put him at first, but I wind up using him as kind of like the flower center to that large navy flower up there. So that works really good. I knew I wanted him at the top since the birds are usually up flying in the sky. So I wanted him kind of above the lighthouse. On the layout, it just kind of subliminally makes more sense. And then I look through my enamel dots, just looking for some that I can scatter around on here. And I find some from American Crafts that have, some of the right colors. And then I decide to look through my puffy stickers as well. And again, I go to some of my Amy Tangerine items, hoping that the colors will kind of match across collections. So I just kind of look through, and I look through for some other American Craft puffy stickers. I actually had 2 packs of that one, so I think I used some of those up. I have that Pink Fresh Studio one as well, but I don't think I use any off that. I go with this, I think I go with the Dear Lizzie item. Yeah, there's these little hearts that have just a little bit of pink, a little bit of teal on that one, and a little bit of yellow on that other, and the colors match pretty well. Not exactly, but good enough. And then that gave me 3 little hearts. And I think about putting this banner because it kind of had that pinkish tone, but it was just a little bit too much on the orange side, so I decided against it. I was thinking about using that maybe as my title, but I'm going to go ahead and use some thickers here instead. And then I do want to map my layout, so I'm just turned it over, putting some ATG on the back, and I'm going to mount it on some teal paper out of that same collection. And there was just a few places that needed a little bit more glue. I know most people are trying to ruffle up the edges of things, and I'm always like trying to glue them down. So there you saw me leaning forward. I was reaching down underneath my table to pull out some packs of thickers, and I'm looking for some silver ones that will match the spray painted items I've got already on the page. And I do find some that are silver that are kind of almost a matte silver, kind of brushed. I'm looking through. I find those Dear Lizzie, they're kind of an off-white blue, but I really wanted silver, and so I go with those you see there on the right. They're shiny, but they're not in your face shiny. They're more of a brushed or satin finish. And I'm just going to make the title the sea. And so I'm going to position it right on that large piece of yellow there on my bottom photo. It's like, come on, Angela, quit watching the movie and do your title. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to open that up and position the letters down there at the bottom. And I was going to look for some tile letter stickers to put the, maybe above it or to the left. But in the end, I just decided to use a gray pen and handwrite the word the just right there on the yellow portion. And then I write her name and the year down there on that little mat inside the frame, because that mat does have like a notebook paper line on it. So now I've got that. I do want to put those enamel dots that I had pulled out. I want to put a dot in each of these clusters. There's a flower that needs a center in each of those, so I just pull out some pink ones. And then that is my finished layout, and I really love the colors. I love how fresh and bright it is, and it's kind of seaside themed, but it's not too in-your-face themey. So I really like that, and I love the texture that this has on it. And I'm going to zoom in here. If I'll quit watching that movie, and I'm gonna zoom in. Come on, Angela. There we go. So I love the textures on this. You can see that little seagull there and that little flourish frame at the top and bottom of the photo. The little crab peeking out there. All the flowers and the fussy cat, and I love that little lighthouse. There are some little lasered marks etched in that to give it a little bit more detail on that lighthouse as well. So I just love how that looks. And so that is my completed layout. If you guys have any questions or comments on anything I did here, just leave me a comment down below, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!